Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bass, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's election time, and today they are counting the mail-in votes, but we're not going to wait to find out the actual results because we know enough to get a conversation going here today. We've got our good friend Mike Dunn from Greater Salisbury Committee in to talk about the election. Welcome, Mike.
Greg, thank you. Good morning. Well, glad to be here.
So this is a 101 tradition. We
Yes.
have you in usually the day after the election. That's
Yeah.
been more complicated lately with COVID and mail-ins and all kinds of craziness. But we did have an election on Tuesday. We have a good sense of what's going to happen with most of the offices in Wycomico County.
Yeah, we do. It appears that voter turnout was fairly low. As of when you and I are talking this morning, it's below 30%. With mail-ins, again to be counted today, looks like we'll hover somewhere in that 35 to 38% range. So I don't consider that a good turnout. It's a non-presidential year, which is when the county council does its thing, and the county executive, so school board, et cetera. So it just didn't appear, despite being a nice weather day and all of those other things that you look for on election day, it just appears that voter turnout was light. That's one of the things we can conclude.
Now, one of the things we've seen from the previous mail-ins is that the mail-in votes seem to skew toward the Democratic Party.
Yeah.
Which has given hope to one of the candidates in the county council race. But let's talk about the top of the ticket first. County Executive Julie Giordano certainly seems that she's going to win.
I think there's a mathematical impossibility that she won't, yes. Give Julie Giordano credit. She has been running a hard and effective and, in my view, professional level campaign for the better part of a year. And I think we all probably got a feeling coming out of the primary that she had some momentum and that she was hitting on some buttons that were key to her base. And congratulations to her. She's an 11th grade English teacher at James M. Bennett High School, and she decided to put her hat in the race, and she ran a very, very effective campaign. I've had the pleasure of meeting with her in my role as the president and CEO of Greater Salisbury Committee. We've met on 2 occasions, and I've got to tell you, she's got a lot of ideas that are, getting thumbs up from our perspective. And I think this slogan that you and I have talked about, active local leadership, I think what Julie's going to attempt to do, to her credit, she likes the stylings and the way that Mayor Day runs and is present in the city of Salisbury. And I think she wants to take that approach to being the county executive. And I think that's a healthy approach. I don't think in the 16 years that we've had the role of county executive, it's really the person kind of stays in that third floor a little bit. And, I know the late Bob Culver tried to get out and see various aspects of how the government is working on a daily basis. But, it appears to me that Julie Giordano is, going to want to be active and make that role of the county executive be more vocal and be more present in the community. And that's something that I think is easy to support.
Now, as someone who's linked to the business establishment, you talk to these people all the time. In the beginning, the idea was that a 40-year-old teacher is not really professionally suited for this job,
Right.
But she seems to have shot down a lot of those concerns.
Well, everyone that she's met with, from you to me to Mayor Day and others, people come away impressed. They come away impressed with the fact that, again, for a rookie candidate who has never been in elected office before, who's going for the highest elected office in our county, her knowledge of the issues was outstanding. And so meeting with her has sort of put to rest some of the concerns about her experience and does she know how to run a 500-person organization. Hopefully, again, as part of what she has talked about her plan, she knows that there's a roster of individuals that need to be filled. There are a lot of vacancies within the infrastructure of the county government, and I think she's ready to build a team. And so all of those things have led us to, she is going to be our speaker at our Greater Salisbury Committee monthly luncheon this coming Monday. So we invited her months ago, should she win. So if Julie Giordano succeeds as the county executive of Wicomico County, in theory, Wicomico County, the Lower Shore, the city of Salisbury, and Fruitland and Delmar, then we succeed too. So we're going to be ready to help her in any way that we can, and we look forward to seeing how she runs and operates as the new county executive.
Now, her politics definitely aligned to the right. We kind of thought maybe she'd pivot back to a more moderate stance during the election. She didn't really do that. She stuck to who she, I think, truly is.
Yeah.
What's that going to be like in terms of her management with the state and how she decides to do things? Like, one of the big things is the sewer master plan that you all are pushing. You've got a subcommittee for that or a committee for that. Very important to the business community and to the county to have a sewer plan. But there's all kinds of ways to enact that. How do you think her leanings are going to affect how she conducts herself in policy?
Yeah, well, in this policy specifically, she has already committed the full weight of the county government. She believes that there needs to be a, if you will, a cabinet level department, a new department, whether it's called a wastewater authority or a sanitary commission. She's committed to running with this problem. She knows that it's one that's affecting residents all over Wicomico County. She knows that it's a problem that has kind of been punted down the road for the better part of 50 years, and she's ready. And so she's, again, she's tuned into the issues, and this is, perhaps a seminal issue for her, and one that if she leads, and again, GSC is playing a role with our task force, and a lot of committed, really good, smart people on that task force, and we're ready to help, and she's ready to accept our help. Relative to Annapolis, and we'll soon have a new Democratic governor. One of the things that she will be doing is spending time in Annapolis. I have reason to believe that she's going to hire a legislative person to not only work with Annapolis, but to work more importantly, perhaps, with the 7 members of the county council. So she's going to be bringing a different commitment and a different level of energy to the job. And I think at this point, a lot of us are ready to kind of stand back and see how she does. And again, we will be doing everything that we can to support the initiatives that we think are good for Wicomico County, the Lower Shore. The other thing she has said is that she views this as a regional job, that this is not just about Wicomico County. It's about working with Somerset and Worcester and Dorchester and really bringing an identity to the Lower Shore. So it's hard not to support that kind of thinking.
On the county council, on the district side, it's pretty lopsided. Shaney Shields is going to win in District 1, a return to Shaney. You served with Shaney on the city council.
I have. I call Shaney Landslide. That's my nickname for her because on many of her victorious wins at the city council level, she was winning by, 6 votes or 15 votes. I've nicknamed her Landslide. But she won pretty handily her seat in District 1. Shaney's a great person. She's one of those people who, when she makes up her mind, she's going to tell the public why she's made up her mind, and that's the way she's going to vote. I had conversation with Joe Holloway, who of course won re-election, and he was asking, "Hey, I understand you and Shaney served on the city council." I said, "Joe, I think you and Shaney are actually going to get along, even though Joe is a pretty conservative Republican and Shaney's a fairly liberal Democrat. They're going to get along because, like Shaney, once Joe makes up his mind about something, he sticks to it.
No filters."
No. So I said, I can anticipate you and Shaney having a pretty nice relationship on the county council.
District 2, Jeff Merritt won handily. He's very involved in Operation We Care, Minuteman Press. He's chairman of the Chamber of Commerce.
Jeff Merritt, he is, I say of Jeff that he's probably one of the most unassailable humans that we have in our community, given all that he's done. He's a just exceptionally committed individual, business owner, just expanded his business. The Operation We Care initiative is just, it takes your breath away what he has done. So that kind of citizen legislator, gosh, if America could be filled with people like Jeff Merritt, who understand that being a citizen legislator at a local level is really just kind of doing what's best for the community and for the jurisdiction that you serve. It would be refreshing. But I don't know anybody who doesn't like Jeff Merritt, and good on him for having the willingness to put his name out there. He ran an exceptionally unconventional campaign. He says he's very frugal, and that he's teased and said he only had one campaign sign, and he would just pick it up and move it around a lot. So Jeff ran an untraditional campaign, but there were many people who thought that he would win fairly handily, and that's how it turned out.
In District 3, Shane Baker won. He'd already won the primary against Larry Dodd, so he was in. He's a law enforcement guy, so we're looking forward to seeing what he does.
Yeah.
Josh Holloway won in District 4. So he's showing some maturity on the council. He was a big leader in this issue with the storage tank.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. With that whole Daft issue thing, Josh has some seasoning, Joe has seasoning, John Cannon has seasoning, and then we're going to bring in some, less veteran, 4 new members: Shane Baker, I'm going to forget Jeff Merritt, and then James Wynn. So it's going to be an interesting mix. There will be 5 Republicans if the votes hold up now, and 2 Democrats. Last time there were 4 Republicans and 3 Democrats, but as you know, those ways that the votes align, there's a lot of D's voting with R's and R's voting with D's, so it's hard to determine where and what the quote council majority will look like, but I don't anticipate it being too different from how things have been done in the last couple of years.
So in the at-large races, 4 people running for 2 seats. It seems clear that John Cannon, the current council president, is going to run. Great traditional Republican leadership family there. The Cannons go back way far in local politics. On the bottom, Megan Alton looks like she's going to finish last no matter what.
Yeah.
But in the middle, between James Wynn and Brad Gillis, we're going to have to wait and see what the mail-ins do.
Yeah, James has a pretty comfortable lead at the moment. I think it's around 2,500 votes. There are a little bit more than 5,000 mail-in votes to be counted. So in theory, there is a possibility that number could shift. Brad Gillis could slip past James. It would take an overwhelming amount of those votes that are mail-in to go Brad's way. So, you look at James, again, business person, family-owned business. He was part of the Julie Giordano and Shane Baker and James Wynn. They got after it early. They got after it by the beginning of this year. They were constantly together. And I think they set, if you will, a tone that looked like an old-fashioned ticket, with Julie at the top and then James and then Shane. And, to their credit, Shane defeated incumbent Larry Dodd in the primary, as you know, and didn't have an opponent. And then James and Julie did well on election day. So that threesome, if you will, of new political candidates showed a lot of energy, worked the system hard, knocked on thousands of doors, and they should feel pretty good about their effort.
As someone who's covered county councils, city councils for 40 years, there's always someone on the body who seems not ready for prime time. And I have to think that James Wynn might be that character, but then you watch them develop while they're on there. I remember thinking about that about Josh Hastings, like, he's not ready to be a leader on this thing, but darn it, 4 years later, he is.
Yeah, James, I'm sure he would acknowledge that he's got a lot to learn. He's 30 years old. He's never done this before. But in listening to his answers at the county council forum that we did, I was pleasantly surprised by how well he did, how composed he was. So I think he's ready. I think he certainly has some strong opinions about being that conservative bedrock Republican. But I think there will be a learning curve. But I think he's ready to get after it. I had a brief conversation with him just before that council forum. We were out in the lobby of Holloway Hall, and he said he's been at this since December. He's a good old outdoor guy, so he likes to hunt and fish. And he goes, I'll be honest with you, among the things I'm hoping and looking for is just for the election to be over. I've been at this a long time. I haven't fished in a while. I haven't hunted in a while. I want to get my life back. Meaning campaigning can, take a lot out of you. So, he has now won, and now he gets the opportunity to show us what kind of legislator he is.
School board is also an election this time.
Yeah.
It's nonpartisan, but you can tell how people skew based on their answers to a lot of the debate questions and questions that we've had in the paper. So again, in the districts, all pretty lopsided. We know who those winners are going to be. Alan Brown in District 1. Jean Malone, the current school board president, in District 2. Susan Beecham's going to win in District 3. She's probably already won. She's got a huge lead.
Yeah.
District 4 is, it looks like David Plotz is going to beat Ann Sukowski. He has a comfortable lead.
Yeah.
And District 5, John Palmer will return to the school board. But again, in the at-large, we're going to have to wait on the mail-ins.
Yeah, in the primary, if I'm recalling correctly, the standing order after the primary was exactly where we are right now. Bonnie Ennis at the top. Darren Lombardo's in third, George Demko is in fourth, and Kristen Hazel is in second place. But again, there is enough closeness that with 5,100 outstanding ballots, if I'm recalling correctly, George Demko went from being in fourth place to jumping up into second place.
Correct.
So certainly not suggesting that that's going to happen this time, but of all the races, I would say that one, the at-large school board race, is definitely one that may take upwards of a week to determine who the final two are in the at-large position.
Yeah, and Bonnie Ennis's performance is amazing. And I know I'm not supposed to have opinions on here, but I'm so comforted by her, and I just really enjoy every interaction with her. I've actually said I'd like to go back to school just so she could help me with my homework.
And I think
because she's got that personality.
Does.
She's just perfect teacher.
She clearly led the way, led the ticket. She was the leading vote getter out of the primary. She's far and away the leading vote getter now. She clearly struck a chord that I know the education system. I'm one of them. People know her reputation. She and David Ennis, her husband, are great people. So, it's one of those, let's go vote for somebody who we know and we have confidence and trust in, and good for Bonnie for, putting her name in that.
Well, you and some other people, Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce certainly, were very involved in this Wycomico County Education Association with the idea of raising money to help promote education, because we realize that education is so important for the business community to have a well-trained workforce and to make it a desirable place to live. Will the school board elections have any effect on that, or it has the momentum on WCEA?
Yeah, so it's WCEF, so we're the Wycomico County Education Foundation.
Sorry.
We just met and about 2 weeks ago with the new superintendent, Dr. Stauffer. And because of COVID, our efforts sort of had to be put aside a little bit because we know there was a large infusion of cash from the federal government and state governments into the school systems across the country. So we have elected a new chair of the WCEF, that's Michelle Wright, who will succeed Susan Purnell, who did such an outstanding job. And Dr. Stauffer, at our last meeting a few weeks ago, laid out a few ideas that he thought the WCEF could pursue. So we're going to be meeting again at the first of the year and going to get back into the game. But again, to your point, our whole focus is going to be to just try to promote the schools. They are the #1 economic development driver in any community in the USA. And so we want to make sure that people understand the good work and the great students and that are coming out of our public schools each and every year. So we're looking forward to that.
One of the things that you do with Greater Salisbury certainly is very involved with the delegation, the Eastern Shore delegation to the General Assembly. That went as we expected. Johnny Mounts won in the state Senate. Mary Beth Carrozza reelected in 38 state Senate. Chris Adams reelected. Newcomer, Tom Hutchison, coming to 37B. Cherie Sample Hughes won again real big. Charles Otto won real big. So no real changes there. Hutchison is the new person in the dynamic. But What do you look for out of the
Yeah.
Eastern Shore delegation?
What I'm most curious about is, of course, Larry Hogan has been the governor, a Republican for the last 8 years, and each of the people you just named have had very strong relationships with Governor Hogan. He has been very good to us here on the Lower Shore. So it's going to be interesting, I think, for them to find their way in with a completely different administration now that Governor-elect Wes Moore, a Democrat, is in charge. It will be interesting to see. Cherie is the only Democrat from the entire Eastern Shore who serves in the General Assembly, either in the House or in the Senate. So we are a Republican-dominant legislative group heading into a completely Democratic, from governor to speaker to the Senate president. So I think we're curious to see how they're going to be able to make their way into getting and building relationships with the new governor. They have relationships with the Senate president and the Speaker of the House. But I think they'll all try and do the best they can to establish a relationship with Wes Moore. If you're Wes Moore, right, new to politics, you might look at this entire swath of the Eastern Shore and go, well, they're all Republicans over there. It's Donald Trump country. It's Dan Cox country. I don't know how much I might need to work with the people from the Eastern Shore. Of course, we think completely differently. And so part of our job, Bill Chambers and myself, we met a few weeks ago with Senate President Ferguson. We're going to try to, of course, set up a meeting with Governor-elect Wes Moore and just, again, collectively do what we can with the help of our delegation, who does such a great job, when and if there are important things that need to be addressed here on the Lower Shore.
Because you're the center of everything, you were also the chairman of the Charter Review Committee here in the last 2 years. Did yeoman's work on that committee, looking at a million things to change the charter. 10 questions went to the ballot this time. It was a lot.
Yeah, it was.
As a reporter, my history is that everyone votes yes on everything. But there was one that was voted no, and that was about the special elections situation, where if there's an opening in the seat, you're appointed to the seat, you've got to stand election in the first available election. Right. That happened with Mark Kilmer leaving and Nicole Ackley coming in. She ended up having to run for election twice in 2 years, I guess.
Right, yeah.
Voters want to keep that.
Yeah, and that's why we vote. The Charter Review Committee, again, 15 great volunteers. We worked the better part of 2021, meeting every couple of weeks. And the special election for the vacancy, should one occur, it was a hot topic. We had a lot of discussion on that. And so, as our want was as a committee, we said, let's put as much out there and let the voters decide. And the voters have clearly made their decision that they want a special election when and if a vacancy occurs. And so that's the road we'll take.
It's interesting, that Charter Review Committee. I went back and read the minutes from actually 10 years ago and 20 years ago. A lot of anger and derision and not yelling. You can't see yelling in a text, but you could tell there was a lot of tension between the members. But you guys really conduct yourself very professionally.
Well, thank you. I mean, there was virtually no tension. I'm not saying there was not good, vigorous debate on some things, but at the end of the day, we tried to do everything by pretty overwhelming consensus. There were a few things that we agreed to or didn't agree to by a 8-7 vote or a 9-6 vote, but by and large, the things that we decided on to move forward were either unanimous or nearly unanimous votes. And the camaraderie in the room was great. No 7 people sat to my right and 7 people sat to my left. It was a great, diverse group of people. So no, there was no rancor, no venom, no anything. We were all there to kind of do our job and stay focused and stay professional.
So I've got to sit down and write a story about what the task list is for Julie Giordano, what needs to happen yet. And I just, I want to make sure, all of us want to make sure that our county stays progressive with a small p.
Yeah, understood.
To be the leadership county that we have always been. We've lapsed back every now and then, but then we show, who we really are down here. what can I insert in that story? What do you think is going to be the track, and what are you going to be looking for?
Well, one of the things we're going to be looking for, it's sort of a great unknown. People like you and me know this, but we have had a mass exodus of high-level Wicomico County department head level, assistant department head level people leave Wicomico County government. Many of them have gone and followed the former Deputy County Administrator Weston Young, who's now the County Administrator in Worcester. They've gone there. We've lost people to Somerset County. So for me, one of the things we're looking for is for County Executive Giordano to fill those slots. I mean, the cupboard is really dangerously bare. And so in order for her to be able to succeed, hopefully she's going to be putting in place some men and women who are qualified to, help just backfill the government. It really is kind of empty. Think about it. Acting County Executive Pasota has been doing 3 jobs for 2.5 years. So I think we'll be looking for her to fill those positions with good quality people. And then we're excited to see she claims and has shared that she wants to be business friendly. And we're looking forward to that. She's talked about things like looking into tax differential and seeing where that is. Looking into a Horizon tax credit program, not just in downtown Salisbury, but perhaps creating them elsewhere in the county. So I think we're looking to watch how her energy converges into the energy of governing on a day-to-day basis. And the jury is out, if you will, but I have no doubt that she's going to hit the ground running. And I think for all of us, it's let's just watch her run and see what she makes as the priorities.
He's Mike Dunn. He's president and CEO of the Greater Salisbury Committee, and we're thrilled he had time to come in here today and talk about the post-election situation in Wicomico County. Mike, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Greg. My pleasure.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. Another edition of 101 right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.